All right, we are keeping with that Pixar theme. Today we're calling the workout Finding Nemo. A little bit of a different structure today. We've got only 3 rounds as opposed to the 5 we had earlier in the week. So a little bit less on the rounds, but keep in mind there is no built-in rest today. We have those 1-minute long sets, and as soon as you finish that 1 minute at that station, you're quickly moving right into that next movement. So the heart rate's definitely going to be up in this one, but that's okay. That's the intention. That's to help build that aerobic capacity and help push you through those movements. So we're looking for either a jump rope, a run, or a walk, and that's going to be a common theme you're going to see through today's workout. So that's the first movement, and we're looking for a wall sit, a dumbbell curl to press, so you can use the dumbbells or a water jug or whatever you have on hand. Again, we're looking for that jump rope, run, walk, some alternating reverse lunge to lateral raise, which I'll go through, some sit-ups, another jump rope, run, or walk, some plie squats, and then we're going to wrap up the round with some knee to nose and donkey kick. So I know that's a mouthful, but I promise we'll get into it. So you can set your interval timer at the minute-long sets, and you can do a quick 1-second transition to help kind of keep track of your rounds and your sets. Or what you can do is just have the clock accumulate and just keep an eye on the minute so that you know where you're at in regards to that movement. Again, definitely high heart rate here. And I challenge you, if it's going to be a nice day when you're doing this workout, to try to choose a run or a walk to get outside, get some fresh air, and get those legs turning over, whether you're jogging, running full speed, or you're walking. You can go 30 seconds out, 30 seconds back, again, just to get that heart rate up. So let's jump into that first movement. So with our first movement, again, we've got the option here. We can do a jump rope, we can do a run or a jog, or we can go out and get a nice brisk walk. Anything that's going to get your heart rate up. You could be going up and down the stairs for a minute, something that you have access to that you're able to do consistently and time it out so that you're either doing a 30-second out and back so that accumulates a total minute, or that you're going for the total minute in a singular movement like Caitlin here is with jump rope. So if you do have a jump rope, just like Caitlin's using here, again, the wrists are nice and relaxed at the side. They're just about in front of you. You don't want them directly at your side. You want them just shy in front of those hips, and just that nice flick of the wrist. And that, in regards to your feet, we've just got that nice light hop too. Again, you don't want to jump too high. You're going to expend excess energy there. We want to be efficient with our time and efficient with our bodies here. So just that nice soft bounce, little soft bounce in the knees, little soft bounce in the ankles, just enough so that rope kind of chirps underneath with each pass. So again, if you're choosing a run, you can go 30 seconds out, 30 seconds back, whatever you have access to. Let's get after it. And as you wrap that up, we are going to give you a little chance to catch your breath here with the static movement. We're working into that wall sit. So find a nice wall with enough space that you can get yourself positioned onto it. Your shoulders, your lower back, your hips, your butt are touching the wall, and we're sliding down into that chair position. So you've got 90 degrees in those knees. Important thing here is to make sure that your knees are right over your heels and your shoulders are really pulled back into that good posture position. You know, I talk a lot about posture, so this is a really great opportunity to make sure you're pulling those shoulders back and together, almost pinning them against the wall. Another important part to think about is as you're holding this position, try to push as much through your heels as you can, and even better, lift your toes up at the same time. It's going to burn those quads a bit more, but the important thing here, and the reason why we want to do that, is because it's going to keep the tension in those quads and out of those knees. So that's a great thing to try and build up to. Maybe you start and try to go as long as you can with the toes up. You can always rest them down as you get fatigued. All right, coming out of that wall sit, we're going to then transition into a dumbbell curl to an overhead press. So 2-part movement here. You can use dumbbells if you have them. We're going to alternate arms. If you don't have dumbbells, what you can do is use a gallon jug. You can use some, maybe some of the bigger soup cans that you can hold on to. Something that you can get a good grip on to use for some resistance here. You're going to keep your elbows pinned against your side as you go into that bicep curl. You want to make sure we're pulling those shoulders back, much like we practiced in that wall sit. Your feet are going to rest pretty much underneath your hips. That's going to help keep you stable. Just a soft bend in those knees too. So that'll help absorb some of the sway that it's going to happen when you curl that weight. As you get to the top of that curl, again, we're keeping those elbows glued tight. Then we're going to turn that palm in and press overhead so that your elbow is fully extended and you're almost to the point where your elbow is right next to your ear. That's a good position for that arm and making sure that you've got that good open shoulder mobility. Okay, and so we wrap that up. You can set those dumbbells down, and now we're going back to what you chose for your cardio element here. So again, jump rope, jog, run, walk, whatever it is, flight of stairs. Again, we're really trying to push through that 1 minute of that consistent movable pace where you're getting that heart rate up and making sure you're getting that respiratory system kind of cranking. The more we can challenge the heart rate, again, the bigger the impact you can have on your metabolism and your aerobic capacity, which are both really important parts to make sure we're conditioning. And I know sometimes it can be a little harder out of our normal routines that we've been out for quite some time. So this is a great way to challenge yourself. Get outside, hopefully it's a nice day, get some vitamin D, get that heart rate up, and let's get cranking. All right, so setting that jump rope down, or you're coming in from your run, we're going to transition into another two-part movement. We're going to use a bit of a lighter set of dumbbells here, or maybe some smaller soup cans, or even maybe some smaller jugs there. So we're working into a reverse lunge to a lateral raise. And so basically, as we come out of that reverse lunge and we come up to that upright position, we're going to start to raise the arms out to the side there. And we just want to go just to about shoulder height so your arms make a T with your body. And so that's where, again, we're using a bit of a lighter weights here. The weight's not going to be super challenging for the legs, but should be a good challenge for those shoulders, which is what we're working with that lateral raise. As you're going into that lunge, we are alternating each step, but the important part is to make sure you're keeping the weight in the front heel. I know I talk about this a lot, and it's for good reason. We want to keep the tension out of your knees and right into those quads, hamstrings, and glutes, and that's going to help protect those knees in the future, just in everyday activities. All right, we can set those weights down. Now we're going to get into some ab work here with some sit-ups. So 1 minute continuous movement with these sit-ups. Your heels are your anchor points. You can always extend your legs further out if you need to. That'll give you a little more leverage in terms of getting yourself up in that torso positioning. So we're using your arms here. So we go arms overhead, and we're going to quickly swing them forward so that you're helping getting a little bit of a momentum boost to get that torso up towards your knees, and you can reach your hands out towards either your heels or your toes, depending on how flexible you are in your hip flexors and your hamstrings and your back. So again, as you go back, you want to think about going a little bit slower on the way back, and think about uncurling from your lower back to your upper back, vertebrae by vertebrae, which is going to not only help keep those abs engaged, but it's going to help protect that lower back as well. And as you get into the later sets here, or even the later in the set, you can use those arms a bit more forcefully to help get yourself up to that full sit-up position. All right, and I know you're excited that we're getting back to that either jump rope, run, or walk. One thing I do want to talk about is if you're out going for a run, a walk, a jog, I want you to think about staying on the balls of your feet. Over time, we become heel strikers, and we're born to be mid-foot strikers. And what that means is that we want to be making sure we're landing on the balls of your feet. That's where all the muscles are going to help absorb that impact. And that's where traditionally, if runners have joint issues, a lot of times it's because they're heel striking instead of forward foot striking. So think nice, cushy, kind of soft bend in the knees as you land, and try to take shorter, quicker steps instead of longer, broader strides. The longer your stride is, the more impact you're going to have on your heel. So if we can shorten it up, keep your feet underneath you, landing on the balls of the feet, that's going to, again, help you in the long run, make sure we're conditioning the muscles and not impacting those joints. All right, and as you wrap up that set, we're going to get into a plie squat. So think kind of like a sumo squat. We're going a little wider in the angle of the toes this time. So those feet are a little bit wider of an angle. We're still sending those hips back and down, trying to get those thighs parallel to the ground. You can always add some resistance to this by holding those weights you were using earlier, either in a goblet style or just down in between your legs, whatever's more comfortable, but always still making sure we're pushing through your heels and pushing your hips back. You should feel this little bit of stretch in those hip flexors and in the groin, but making sure that we're pushing hips back and squeezing your butt as you get out of that low position. That's going to be important to make sure we're activating those glutes, and again, just as I've mentioned before, protecting those knees. And as we wrap these plie squats, we're going to transition into the last movement of the round. We're looking for a knee to nose to donkey kick. So it's a mouthful. Basically, I want you to think of this kind of like the Spider-Mans we've done in the past. I want you to reach your knee up in that high plank position, knee up towards your nose, and bring your nose towards your knee at the same time. As you do that, I want you to think like you're crunching your abdominals like you would in a sit-up or a crunch. And then as you extend that leg back out, before we put the foot down, I want you to reach your heel straight back towards the wall behind you. As you do that part of the movement, that's where we want to squeeze your glute on that same side. This set, we're alternating with each of these, really driving that knee up towards the nose, crunch down towards the knee with the nose, and then extend that leg back, heel towards the back wall, and squeeze that glute. Takes a little getting used to, but I promise it's a nice effective exercise in your core and getting your glutes firing up as well. Alright, so that wraps up your first round. Remember, there are only 3 total rounds in this workout, but try to keep moving consistently. There are a fair amount of those high heart rate elements in this, but keep that heart rate as high as you can without trying to take that rest. If you do need to take a rest, try to minimize the amount of time you are resting. This is a good chance to really try to push yourself, especially in regards to that high heart rate. As always, post a sweaty selfie. Let us know how you did. Let us know what you thought. And as always, let us know if you have any questions. We'll see you in the next one.